Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Eustace Farmer, and in this video I'd like to help answer the question, is this bud for you? I'm going to take you through the Big Bud DLC in an express yet hopefully comprehensive way. Maybe it'll help you decide whether or not you'd like to purchase the pack for yourself, and maybe even inspire you to think more creatively in how to use the equipment even on some of the smaller maps. It's not just for big, huge American maps. So that being said, let's start off with the big dog here. So this is the Big Bud 747. It's 1100 horsepower, and that's the triple wheel option. And this is the same tractor in the dual wheel option. And this is the single wheel option. So that's part of the customization when you buy it. You can change the wheels at any time. And this is the Big Bud 450, and that is 500 horsepower. Here's the back of it. Now, these are all single point hitches on the Big Bud 747 and the 450. There's no 3-point linkage in real life nor in the game on this tractor. But there is a solution to that, and Giants has included a trailing lifter, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So one thing that I found surprising was things like this. There's a backup camera on this, yet it has no function whatsoever. So I thought that was kind of a little disappointing because we've had cameras on harvesters and tractors through mods in the game for quite a while. And so it would have been nice if Giants put that in. Also, the rear indicating lights up in the top above the rear window, those are just tail lights and brake lights. They don't work. But the ones in the front, funny enough, do work. So how does the Big Bud stack up against, say, the Case Quad Track and the New Holland T9 in size? Well, you have to remember, in the days when this tractor was built, there wasn't too many other pieces of machinery comparable in size. Today's modern tractors are pretty darn big, and yet the Big Bud in width, length, and even marginally in height still beat these guys hands down, even the Challenger, as you see. And just for giggles, I threw in a mid-size Fendt there. And there's the New Holland T8, the T9, and the Quad Track. And there we go. There's a little bit more of a height comparison. So I would guesstimate the Big Bud probably has it a couple of feet over the Quad Track. It's a pretty big beast. That's faux shizzle. So in the real Big Bud world, not only were the tires custom made for the tractor, but also the implements were custom made in size and scale for the Big Bud to use. So the plow comes in two configurations, and that's the trailed lifter, which is your 3-point linkage adapter, and that's going to be $15,000. And then you have the universal molded board, which is like your spaded plow, standard. And that's going to be straight up $130,000 out the door. And then you have the slatted mold boards, and that's going to be $132,000, so an additional $2,000. So let's go ahead and see what a 10.5 meter working width looks like in the dirt. There we go. It was a lot easier to handle than I thought, although you're not going to be doing much backing up, but you sure will cover a lot of ground quick. So this is the manure spreader in the game now, and that's a 70,000 capacity. It's $198,000 with a 15-meter working width. So the pack includes an overloading auger. It's called the Avalanche, and it comes in your choice of red or green, and you can choose a crawler track or standard tires. So there's no extra charge for the color change, but there is an additional charge for the crawler track, and that's going to set you back an additional $8,000. So just standard with any color, it's going to be $118,000, and then it's going to cost you $126,000 out the door if you want the crawler track. So that's the Bergman in the middle, and that was the biggest overloading auger in the game before the Avalanche. So let's see how it compares in size to this one. And as you can see, it's more narrow and long, and it only has a 43,000 liter capacity. The Avalanche, however, weighs in at 53,000 liter capacity, and it holds all the standard in-game crops and fertilizers as well. So that's really awesome. So Giants has introduced 3 new cultivators into the game, one of which is a Culti plow, and this is by Agrisim. And to me, this is more of a subsoiler, as you can see down here with the blades. And it's going to cost you $82,000, and it has an 8-meter working width. Now during all the demonstrations, I'm going to go ahead and be quiet so you can hear the tractor motor. And as expected, we have the plowed indication on the map. Next up is the Bednar Swifter SM18000, 18.2 meter working width, $120,000 out the door, and it's got a built-in front counterweight. And it's got the harrowing tines on there. And next up is the FlexiCoil ST820 at a 24 meter working width, and it's going to cost you 186,000 clams out the door. This is well used already, as you see. And introducing the Feedhoc toolbar and air cart, and it's got some really nice details like the zip-tied air lines here. And it's $290,000 for the toolbar and $185,000 for the standard version of the air cart, unless you do rear twins, and that's $190,000, extra $5,000 out of your pocket. So even for me, you can go ahead and climb right up these stairs. I fit, anybody can fit. You can check your hatches before you start out on your workday. And it's got a really cool animation when you go to load up with seed and fertilizer. So as you see, it comes up the little auger and right into the tank. Unfortunately, the seed and fertilizer go into the same hatch. Give you the rest of the walk around here. One awesome feature in FS17 nowadays is the paint jobs have more shine and reflection. So the other air cart in the game is the TH1400 at $98,000. It has a 14,000 capacity, and it does all the standard in-game crops, including sugar beets, but not potatoes. And this is made by Hopson, an Austrian company. I hope I said that right. And this one has the animation coming into the hatch on the top, but not in the tray in the bottom, and the fertilizer again goes into the same hatch. And its partner in crime is the Terminator TH18, and I will spare you the Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. So this is going to cost you $212,000. It requires 450 horsepower, so you can use the Big Bud 450 on that, which has 500 horsepower. It does all the standard crops, including oilseed radish and grass. And it has an 18-meter working width. Give you a little eye candy spin around here. And last but certainly not least, we have the Great Plains YP2425A at $142,000. It has a 58,000 capacity. It does all the standard in-cane crops, including sugar beets. It's got an 18.2 meter working width. And the little puzzle piece down there says that you can use an AGCO 650 or an SB 700 counterweight on your tractor. And that's if you're not using a Big Bud, because they do not take counterweights. And this requires 280 horsepower, which seems a little low if you ask me, judging from the size of this particular piece of equipment, but hey ho. So this does fertilize as well, but it is not a direct seeder. So the Feedhoc and the Terminator are direct seeders, so you don't have to cultivate or plow first. This one you do. So what about those of you that are considering buying the Big Bud pack, or maybe you think it's off limits because you really don't like big, huge maps, whether they be American or British or European, what have you. You like the very small, tight, intimate farms. Will this pack work out well for you? I have to say yes and no. Some of it depends on the style of gameplay that you use. If you're an ultra-realistic person, well, there are some pieces of equipment that you can use, and there's some that just are not going to work at all, like the Feedhoc. If you have a lot of gated fields, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to get them through the gates. Now, if you're one that likes to play not so realistic, and you don't mind clipping through the hedges, or you don't utilize crop destruction, and you don't mind driving over the fields, well, you could pretty much use any piece of equipment so long as you can clip through things. So the Big Bud 450, that's a definite yes. You can certainly get around with that and some of the implements. The dual wheel, yep, you can still do it if you turn off traffic. Now the triple wheel, that's when you're getting into the unrealistic side of things, and if you don't mind, like I said, clipping through things, you'll be all right. But this thing here, I gotta say no unless you tow it in two pieces, and you can use the single wheel Big Bud. And the single or the dual wheel will get along just fine on the main 2-lane roads. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I hope I've been able to help you make a decision whether or not this is worthwhile or not for you. And as I said before, if you're one that is really into small, tight maps, you might want to give a bigger map a try and get the Big Bud pack, because big fields seem like smaller fields when you have the proper scaled equipment to do the job. So the Big Bud is a great piece of Americana, but just because it's American doesn't mean that it's not for everyone. This is for the world to share. I was mystified by this machine when I was a kid. I saw it in books and magazines and on TV. And one of my dreams, and I'm still not giving up on it, is I'd like to go and somehow be able to sit inside the Big Bud tractor. It would make me feel like a kid again. So thank you very much for watching, and please, until we meet again, my friends, Take great care of yourself, okay? And bye-bye for now.